We agree the best way to do this is just to jump right in, right?
Yeah. I think that'd be a close talker.
All right. So, I have a list of topics.
Yep.
Topic number 10 is leg rubbing. We have to talk about this before anything. Yesterday morning, we're in bed, and I wake up to this feeling of something like dragging across my leg. It happens once, and it kind of wakes me up. And it happens again, and I thought that you were trying to lightly wake me up in some sort of weird, intimate manner.
I thought you were going to say I was trying to entice you.
I thought that you were, and then you kept doing it, and the funny thing
I'm petting the dog. If anyone's wondering what's going on with my other arm.
The funny thing is, it speaks to how much I don't want to wake up. That I could think that you were like trying to wake me up for sex, and I'm still not. Like, I didn't turn over or do anything. I just thought, oh, this is nice. Then it's like not stopping, but all of a sudden it's just going faster and faster and faster. So someone's foot rubbing, going from the top of my leg all the way down, over and over and over again. Then they start kicking me. And at that point, like, when it started going really fast, I thought, that's weird. Like, why is she doing that? That's like, this isn't cool anymore. This is just like weird and waking me up. Then the leg kicks me, then goes up over me and just flops down on my legs. And it was at that point that I realized it was Noelle was in the bed with me. And I had to be like, get off me. So that's how I woke up yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Was that yesterday? What day? Is that the day she slept in bed with us? Or is that the day I tried to shower? Or is today the day? Did I shower today?
I don't remember. It could really be.
No, that was yesterday. That was the day I showered. Yeah.
This is how we demarcate time now about when we've showered.
Yes, because chaos happens when I shower.
Monday was the day that I showered.
Well, because pandemonium when I shower. That's why I can only shower every other day.
At one point,
because our children can only be late to school every other day. Because today's Wednesday.
Eventually, she was replaced by
the dog.
Wait a minute.
Right. I showered today. No. Did I? I did shower today. At
any rate. So I briefly...
I'm saying.
I briefly thought my wife was trying to gently awaken me.
You.
Yep. And instead it was a 7-year-old just entertaining themselves. And then, like everything she does, she eventually took it too far and was just kicking me.
Yeah.
That was great. How are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but
I was doing real good right up until about 8. The second SpongeBob ended, I realized I was tired. But I'm trying to be energized.
Well,
we need to do the Patreon and make some money so we can do this during the day.
See, Wednesdays are my hard days because I have to, at the end of the day, drive to Hopkins, then sit in the car for an hour, and then drive back from Hopkins. It's all during rush hour driving.
And what do you do while you sit in the car?
Well, I'm supposed to read, but today I was looking up that thing, and then I called my mother, and then I had to de-escalate Noelle because apparently they didn't serve snacks today at the PAC Institute, and Noelle had a complete and utter meltdown. So
before you saw her?
No, before I saw her. And most of the children had gotten picked up, and like the PAC Institute, it's like they're inside what would be a storefront. It's all glass windows, so when I looked inside, Noelle was, I felt like it was like almost like that scene in Elf where Elf was like sleeping in the window and snuggling with like the mannequins, the Christmas mannequins, but instead it was different, and Noelle was pressed up against the window on some beanbags having a meltdown with their legs kicking in the air, and she was crying. And it's because they didn't serve snacks today.
And is this because she was hungry or just because she has an expectation of snacks?
Both.
Okay.
She had expectation of snacks and she was hungry. So, and she wanted me to go to Holiday to pick up some snacks on the way home. But, you know, we came to an agreement like a few weeks ago that going to Holiday to get snacks, especially in the evening, is triggering for me because, you know, I worked at a convenience store, a gas station convenience store, was held up in my youth. And I'm just like,
And they get held up all the time right now.
Oh, they do. I didn't know it was that. The only reason I don't like to go there with my child is not like I normally find them triggering, but she takes 1,000 years to pick out a snack. And I'm fine when I'm in a convenience store if you're just like getting something and then you're out of there. But like she's like, we're in there for like 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
and I'm just like, I hate these places. They
you're
give
supposed
me
to beeline in, grab the Choco Tacos, straight out.
Yeah. And no, she's there, and I'm just like, no, honey, you don't understand. These are not the type of places that we need to make these long. Oh, sorry, the table. These
We're trying, folks.
Yeah, these long decisions over.
Do it Bill Clinton instead.
No, I got John McCain just. Although he couldn't help it.
So then, was she cool?
Oh, no, that's why I had to give her Pringles as soon as we got home. The secret stash of sour cream Pringles. I was like, if you're good, there's some sour cream Pringles.
The dog has gotten into something and she keeps sneezing. And she wants to go in the laundry room. I think we'll terrify her.
She saw me go in there and she knows there's now food
in
the laundry room. So what's our next topic?
All right. Let's do the reading of the topics.
Number 1, whacking your head. 2, numb feet. 3, who are we? I think that's
Getting deep.
I know. 4, trick-or-treating.
AKA.
Where is everybody? Because seriously, where was everybody? 5, The Professional. The movie, The Professional, not...
I'm sorry, Leon the Professional.
Leon?
I'm getting... It's like...
Is that like the French?
Yeah, I'm respecting Italian.
Oh, Italian. Sorry.
No, it's Leon.
Leon.
They say Leon.
Leon. That's the movie with, what's her name?
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman and...
Jean Reno and Gary Oldman.
Yeah, we were watching that last night. 6 is Kimmy Schmidt. What is that? Appreciate. 7, what you should actually learn at from art school. This is a good one. This we were talking about this the other day. 8, Mr. Liff and the suffering for your art, yay or nay. Obviously, we've been thinking a lot about our previous art education and what we've learned and not learned. 9, moving to Philly.
Isn't that the thing you're talking about?
Yeah.
Except that
moving to Philly.
In order to properly do that requires talking about the other stupid things that lead to moving to Florida. So it may have to not just be, it may have to happen in the States.
Oh yeah, talking about moving to Philly, we have to talk about moving to Florida.
Which also involves moving to a park.
Oh yeah, that's a long story.
All right.
Where do you want to start? Trick-or-treating.
Trick-or-treating.
Where do you want to start with the trick-or-treating? Do you want to start with Halloween in general?
Like how it's great?
I have a complicated history with Halloween.
Okay, yeah. We're going to talk about Halloween. I'm going to tell you about my Halloweens.
Yeah.
My Halloweens involve getting in costumes, getting not a Halloween bag, but a pillowcase, maybe 2. You go out with your friends. I don't remember ever going out with my parents, but it's possible that I did at a really young age, but I have no recollection of it, and so I probably did not.
Yeah, but there was that whole gang of Hardisties, so you wouldn't really need your parents.
Yes, I have 3 brothers, so that you already have a gang.
Yeah, you're protected in numbers.
And it was the 80s, and kids played with their neighbors, so you went out with your neighbors, and nobody did anything with their parents, so it's not like their parents were around. There were a couple of years where there were Halloween parties. Okay, no, I thought I could remember a year with my mom, but I can't. I can just remember that we were allowed to go up our own street. That's why we saw people we knew. Normal Halloweens, that eventually, when you're like, I don't know, 13 or 14, you stop with the costumes and you just wear all black and you have shaving cream and you still go trick-or-treating,
We're from
even though you're not
wait
in
a minute.
costumes.
We're from the East Coast. We have cabbage night. So all the chaos happens the night before Halloween.
Yes. And it continues.
And they don't
at
have
Halloween.
cabbage night in the Midwest. So for
No,
years,
thankfully,
years we kept hiding our car the night before Halloween, and we're like, what's going on here? Because like our car kept not getting like shaving cream or toilet paper the night before Halloween, or egged, and we realized it took years to realize there is no cabbage night here. But
yeah, we thought it would be really bad because it's like a much bigger
we're like, oh,
than
it's
where
a
we grew up.
metropolis. Yeah, no cabbage night in the Midwest.
And that gradually that, you know, you'd go out with a gang of friends and some people would refuse to give you candy because none of you had an outfit on. But of course, in 1991, wearing all black, and there's 5 of you, you could just say you're Public Enemy or NWA, and that was your costume. That like worked well enough.
I didn't know we were going to go in the teens.
We would, you know, you'd bring like a pillowcase and just fill it up. And then maybe go get another pillowcase and fill that up. So I have a totally normal Halloweens. Other than the one where my mother traumatized us, but that is a story for another time.
Oh.
Because my mother and father traumatized us on Halloween. Maybe we'll circle back to that as we talk about the awfulness of your Halloweens.
See, my Halloweens, my grandmother's birthday is on Halloween, which I think my family kind of missed the mark, because I think having your grandmother's birthday on Halloween could be amazing. Like you could use like, it could be like a whole birthday celebration month, and like you could be like the house that could go all out and like make it like just over the top and include everyone in your celebration. Like that's how I would do it, but that's not how my family did it. And instead,
what did your family do with you on Halloween?
Nothing. I didn't go trick-or-treating. Instead, I would get all dressed up in my costume, and instead of trick-or-treating, I would go over from my apartment complex, was just like a block and a half from my Aunt Eva's apartment complex, and we would walk over to her house, and then she would give me a quarter, and then I'd go the next floor down to my Aunt Odelia's, and then she would give me a quarter, and then we'd get in the car and drive over to my grandmother's, and then I'd go to her house for Halloween, and then we would have a slice of cake, and then the adults would sit around and have coffee all night. So I never went trick-or-treating as a kid. Never. I back up. When I had 2 parents and we lived on the Navy base in the Philippines when I was like a baby, like 2 or 3 years old, there are photos of me trick-or-treating then. So I did trick-or-treat when I was that age.
It doesn't count.
But
if you can't remember it, it doesn't count.
So I did not have those pillowcases filled with candy, and then I hated the day after Halloween because everyone would be talking about all the candy they got, and you know, kids, like you got to compare, and everyone would be comparing all like who got the most candy, and of course, you know, I had no candy to be comparing. It sucked.
I find this so upsetting. There's a phenomenon that happens in our house where people tell me, like, I have to constantly stop people from talking, because if people tell me about another person that is annoying, there is a level at which I can no longer handle it because I don't get it secondhand. I feel just as, if not more annoyed than the person telling me the story about how they were annoyed or irritated by someone's behavior. So I'll have to stop people and be like, we can't talk about this any longer because I'm getting really angry. So this Halloween thing, I find so upsetting. Like, I was thinking about it. Like, and I was like, just going through, I was like, okay, what's the worst, most fucked up child memory that I have? And I can think of my mom's boyfriend throwing a garbage bag on my bed while I was sleeping at like 2 a.m. over some bullshit. I don't remember why. I don't even, like, why would you throw a garbage? Like, did I not take the trash out? I honestly don't recall. But he was like your psycho, like, Lifetime movie guy where it's like, you didn't put the top back on the ice cream.
Daddy.
And then they hit you with the gallon of ice cream. He was like that, like a just cartoon character villain.
Oh, yeah, I know about that guy.
That doesn't upset me.
Hey, John McCain.
That doesn't upset me as much as the, like,
Chevy.
the, what, 14 years of no trick-or-treating.
Oh, yeah. He says 14 years because at 14, I still look really young. And I went trick-or-treating with my friend Judy.
I was 12 years old and there was a drug raid at my house and my parents were arrested.
And you found that.
That doesn't bother me as much as this does. This bothers me.
Well, you
so
know what?
much.
This is what I told the girls.
I want a time machine just to fix this.
This is what I told the girls. I said, you know what? I think that my grandma, missed the mark. That for 93, because she lived until she was 93, that for 93 years, instead of like going bananas for her birthday, because it's on Halloween, that's like amazing.
How dope is that?
I said, we need to make up for 93 years of crappy birthdays for her. And I said, from here on out, I was like, we need to like make it a point to go like over the top. Like, we did really good this year. We had a graveyard in the front, and we like.
But like next year, what I want to do is go collect scrap wood and like make a rustic fence.
And then I said, and then once I'm gone, I'm like, you gotta carry it on. Be like, my great grandmother's birthday was on Halloween. Oh, sorry, John McCain. My great grandmother's birthday was on Halloween, and sorry, John McCain's rolling in his grave because he's like liberals. No, sorry. My great grandmother's birthday was on Halloween, and I just gotta go all out. So that's just what we gotta do.
It would just be so easy for it to be fun. I assume your mom didn't get to go out on Halloween because her mother's birthday was on Halloween.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Like, and that's where this dumb idea started. And then, like, what happened? Like, did your grandmother's siblings not get to go on Halloween?
I'm assuming she did get to go out on Halloween because she comes from a gigantic family, and I'm sure the whole family got together. Because remember, my grandma had like 10 brothers and sisters, and they all lived within blocks of one another, and they all had children of their own. So
you're short enough that we should just put you in a costume. You should be trick-or-treating too.
Well, did you see when we were trick-or-treating with Noelle, a lot of people hesitation checking me over? Not too sure. Are you
like, you're not tall enough to not be getting the candy. Yeah. So we went out this year. Patience being 12 went off with like her gang, which is like fine, but sort of a bummer. But I feel like I should be happy because it means that she's growing up and is alive.
No, and it was good because I'm going to be honest, most years Patience weighs us down. She complains it's cold, and like after a block she wants to go home. And
yeah, she literally, we can't go a full city, we haven't in like years gone a full city block with her.
We would go up 54th like a block, and she'd be like, okay, I want to go home now, and we're like, what?
I assume that too, that there's not nearly as much motivation to get candy. Like when I was growing up, even your friends with junk food in the house didn't have that much junk food in the house. So you were like, fuck yeah, we're loading up on candy. But now there's like sweets everywhere all the time.
Well, and Patience is so good because she asked.
Yeah, and she's not motivated by sweets.
Yeah, and she asked permission. Mommy, may I have something sweet? You know what I mean? And she'll get like 2 cookies. and then that's it. She never asked for
She was
any more.
out trick-or-treating with her friends, and they were like looking over all their stuff and eating a bunch of candy, and
she's like, oh, I can't. She's like, my mom needs to check my candy and make sure it's safe. And then she came home all angry.
she was so mad that everyone else was eating candy and she wasn't. But it was funny that she didn't sneak it.
Yeah. And I was like, you can like look at the candy yourself and assess whether or not it's safe. You didn't need me for that. You're 12. Something looks sketchy.
So then we went out with Noelle, our 7-year-old, and what was she? She was Mal from The Descendants.
Yeah.
And we were out for a while. She got like legitimately tired and cold. But I found trick-or-treating mildly depressing because there's like no kids out, like barely any. And I finally realized why there's no kids out. It's because we're finally at the point where the American birth rate has dropped to a point where it's noticeable.
Are you sure? Are you sure they all weren't on the other side of Nokomis? Because where Patience was, it was a huge area that they had blocked off, and it was posted on Nextdoor like weeks before Halloween that area was going to be blocked off.
But every year that we've gone out, it's never that many people.
Well, I know in our area, when I bring the girls out trick-or-treating where we used to be before, we were the only ones trick-or-treating besides the other family that used to live on the street. But all the other families had moved out on that street.
It seems like there's a lot less trick-or-treating now, and maybe it is consolidated, but I think that like when we were growing up, most people had 2 to 3 siblings, and most people now have 1 to 2. And I think like at this point, like that you can see that. Like you go outside and there's a third less kids, period. That's my theory, at least.
I don't know. All right. What do you want to talk about next? Which one?
All right. Next topic. A serious topic or a not serious topic?
I don't know. Not serious?
Okay. In current events, the other day.
Current events?
Yeah. Was it Saturday? No, Sunday. Sunday we were down here in the basement, which is where I work and where Kim works too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm in the process of setting up my desk down here. I like it neat.
Yeah, and basically, with this little tiny house with way too much stuff in it, I mostly try to keep it in stacks so I can move around. But at this point, I've thrown my hands up and just decided it's too small. There's too much stuff. It's going to kind of suck. But Kim can't accept that, so she like tries to Tetris it to make it work. As an example, there's shelves over here that have like books, photo equipment, computer cords, canvases, all this stuff. But there were sleeping bags on top of it. Because where else were the sleeping bags going to go but on top of a pile of canvases? It's a sensible place. So Kim gives me these sleeping bags to go stuff in the kids' closet. Apparently every time I go up the stairs, I must duck when I go underneath the like little, I don't know what you call it, the ceiling that starts for the stairs. And I must duck. And this time I was like holding these 2 bags, so I was standing taller. So I step and the molding comes out and I fucking whacked my head on it. Like just straight up hit my head on the molding and more or less collapsed. I didn't get like a head injury, but it hurt like hell. And there's a bruise.
All I heard he just yells "fuck" really loud.
And I'm like lying sideways on the sleeping bags.
I must admit, because he yelled obscenities, I was slow to respond. Because he sounded angry instead of in pain.
I was in a lot of pain.
But I was just like, because you sounded angry, so I'm like, I give him a minute before I go in there.
So.
But then we got an ice pack and moved him.
So that happens. And then you get an ice pack. It stops hurting. And then I don't know, was I working for a while? All I know is that a couple hours later, I had this like insane block of my back no longer worked. like it basically radiated
he
down.
was walking like he was 90 years old. Like he like was barely moving.
Every time I moved my leg, my entire back was doing stuff I guess it would normally do. It's just that it wouldn't hurt. It would seize up and take like 10 seconds for the muscles to relax again.
So then I get to pretend I was an osteopath and do some muscle work.
Yeah, and then I started to feel it in my neck. So first it was like I went all the way down to my back, and the next day, from my back being seized up, my stomach was killing me because it was basically like compensating for the fact that my back wasn't working. So I'd walk around like normal, but my stomach would be like hard as a rock trying to help my body support my legs. Completely sucked. It was awful. And I was a chiropractor. That made it feel a bit better, but it rated. Oh, by the next day though, I had like this searing pain from like here to here. So I went to the chiropractor and he made it a little bit better. And now I just have one weird little spot that no longer feels like the muscles work, which probably is just a sign that I should counter how I'm withering away because I don't exercise at all. And I can't handle hitting. I didn't even hit my head that hard.
I still think you should see Jill.
That's a physical therapist. No,
Wow.
I probably should because my back is obviously really weak because I don't think that hitting your head... I feel like if I hit my head so hard that my back is going to not work anymore, I should hopefully have hurt my head. But my head is fine, so I feel like it's not a good sign. Nice.
Whacking your head. Yep, that's off the list. All right, you want to tell another story?
So I've heard that you can't stand in one place anymore without your feet going numb.
Oh no, that's not my feet go numb wherever I am.
I was trying to do like talk show host.
Oh.
I was leading you into a story.
Oh, okay, yes. So now that
I hear a crazy thing happens with your feet.
Now we're talking about all our medical ailments. Nom-dem is number 2, numb feet. See, what's going on is I take care of everyone in the house and I take terrible care of myself. So when I'm having an ailment, say like a tumor growing in your leg for 3 years, yeah, I put it off for 3 years until I finally go, I finally should get this looked at. And
But if I were to go, man, my throat's been sore for a couple of days, there would be a doctor's appointment on the books for me that I wouldn't have to do. I wouldn't have to call the doctor. It would just happen.
So for like a few weeks, I have been noticing things like my hands and my feet going numb in situations that they shouldn't. But now, like, my feet going numb have reached like a fever pitch. Where like they're
just
going
constant.
Where they're going, like yesterday my feet were numb like 90% of the day.
Yeah, the logic would be that
Work
I
as a
should have
team.
made the doctor's appointment. But the truth is that she takes care of us and not herself. I'm incapable of taking care of anyone.
I'm trying to do better.
Doctor.
I am going to call a doctor because Namdev's like, you don't want to lose your feet. And I just envision myself with like peg legs.
Yes. I mean, it's funny to envision. It's not cool in real life. It's a thing,
It's not,
man.
I know it's a thing. I'll figure it out.
All right. So this is going to be an ongoing feature. It's going to be, are Kim's feet still numb?
Kim's feet still numb.
Does she still have feet?
Yes, she still has feet. If I got fake feet, could they make me taller? No, I
No, because you wouldn't be proportioned right. Like
I
you
know.
just had long calves. Just give me a couple extra inches there.
Okay.
It'd be cool though. It'd be easier to frame these videos.
Are we gonna tell the moving to Philly story?
Okay.
To tell the moving to Philly story, we have to tell the moving to Florida story. And to tell the moving to Florida story, we gotta tell the you'll just sleep in the park story. So to tell the you'll be sleeping in the park story, we have to tell your mom moving abruptly story.
Okay. And this pains me to talk about because it's
The year is 1995.
It's so my level of stupidity is so embarrassing. Like I can't believe that I entertained any of these ideas.
You were 19 though.
Yes, this is why I think you shouldn't be allowed to vote until you're, I don't know, 65.
65? Then you're so crotchety. I think how crotchety you're getting. Jesus.
I definitely think I shouldn't be allowed
You shouldn't
to
be
vote.
allowed to vote until you're 35.
I could do that. Like, you can run for president and you can vote.
How about
You've
30?
earned the right. I could deal with 30 too. So, what was going on? I was living in Newport, Rhode Island with my 3 brothers and 1 to 2 informal roommates of people who'd never leave the house with our mom. And
not she is not my mother.
shit. Okay, so it's 1995. In the beginning of the year, I have no inkling that I would be moving out of my house. No, that's not true.
No.
I was thinking about moving to Philadelphia already. At some point in 1995, I was thinking about moving to Philadelphia because I had a bunch of friends there and there were people that I really liked and got along with, and they were all maniacs. Like,
life would have been different.
Eric Wareheim and the late and legendary Sean McCabe and a bunch of these other people from the hardcore scene that I used to talk to on the phone all the time. Suddenly, I don't know when this happened, but my mom decides that she is going on a road trip for the summer
and then moving to Arkansas.
To Arkansas. That is okay. So she's gonna move to Arkansas to live with her boyfriend. And there's no fucking way I'm moving to Arkansas, and I don't want to be trapped in a van with her and my brothers all summer.
Oh yeah, most of you decide to jump ship.
Yeah, it's actually true. Like, and I was the oldest, and I was only 18, right? So I was 18, and so that means my brothers were 16, 15, and 14.
Was I 19?
You would have been 19. So she springs this idea on us, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I don't know how much time I had to prepare. A month?
I don't know.
Do you think I even had a month?
I don't know. All I know is your mom paid me to clean your house, so that's all I was thinking.
So I'm like, I was kind of thinking about moving to Philadelphia anyway, but now all of a sudden I was not going to have a place to live, and it was like, all right, well, fuck it, I should move to Philadelphia. Let me add that
I did not know you were going to move to Philadelphia.
Yeah, which is probably also driven in part by I was in love with you and you had a boyfriend. So
I wasn't with Brad at this point.
Your coming apart like happens like right before all of this like actually happens. But when I was like thinking about moving to Philadelphia, probably partially I'm like trying to help maintain my own like sanity, because I gotta hang out with you all the time and it kind of sucks.
Okay.
This is like coming back to me now, my internal dialogue. So all of a sudden I'm like, well fuck, I'm gonna have to move, but I have no money. I'm doing like a record distro mail order. I got all these records. I got no money, no way to move anything. Just the fact that my mom would spring on us, oh, we're moving to fucking Arkansas.
Yeah, well, how old was your mom? Let's see.
Over these
if
crazy
you were
moves.
18, your mom was 36.
Yeah. Yes. No, I think she was 22 years older than me.
Oh.
18, 40.
Your mom was 40?
Yeah. Which I was responsible at 40, so this makes sense. So the plan that I come up with in order to help me move to Philadelphia is I'll stay in Newport. I don't know where I'm going to keep my stuff. Maybe Brian Oakley's house. I was going to use my friend Brian Oakley's house as a place to store all my stuff so that I can still sell records and whatnot. I'm going to get a job at Kinko's, and my logic is by having a job at Kinko's, I'll have a job, and then I can make stuff constantly.
Well, you did get a job at Kinko's.
Yes. And I can make stuff constantly. And if I work there long enough, I can transfer to another place pretty easily. So then when I get to Philly, if I go there in like August or September or whatever, this must be my logic, I can just work at a Phillies Kinko's. This was like the plan. But I was going to sleep legitimately my plan was to sleep in a fucking park at a church. This was a serious plan that I had.
Yeah.
For an entire summer, this was my plan.
So then, Namdev, so Rosie moves away, and then it's day one. Namdev goes to enact the plan. I help Rosie. She like drives off or whatever. And then I'm there to see her off or whatever, see everyone off. And then I think I drop you off at Brian's, and then I drive back home to my home. Namdev was living in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was living in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So then,
it's like 40 minutes of highway driving away.
Yeah, so
45.
then I drive home, and then, I tell my mom, and I'm like, oh, I saw Rosie off. She's like on a road trip, and she's like, oh, and then my mom like asked, well, where are all the boys? And I'm like, well, I think, who went with her on that trip? I think Nick went with her. I don't know which boys went with her on the trip.
Ben had to, because he was wheelchair bound, so he had no choice in the matter. I'm trying to think if did Nick start out with Devin or leave and stay at Devin's for a while?
I don't remember.
And Moose didn't go either.
Moose didn't go, no.
Because Moose squatted in our old house.
Yeah.
Just fucking amazing. I don't know how long he pulled that off for, though. Only a couple days.
Yeah, not very long, because your mom got in, like, when the walkthrough happened in there, they found pizza boxes and stuff, and your mom, like, got in trouble for, like the mess there or whatever. But, I tell my mom your plan about sleeping in John McCain got in trouble for,
Hold on, see if the cap is off, so you might draw on your scarf.
I told my mom his plan about sleeping in the park during the day and working at Kinko's at night, and my mom is like, why don't you go find that boy and bring him back here, because that is not a smart plan.
No, it was completely fucking insane, and I don't understand how I was going to pull this off.
So then I don't
think I had a sleeping bag.
No. So then after driving 40 minutes, I already drove 40 minutes there to say goodbye to your mom, 40 minutes back to my house, and then I had to get back in the car, drive 40 minutes back to go find you, and then I finally locate you, and then I get back and then get you in the car and drive 40 minutes. A lot of driving that day.
Yeah, and then I basically didn't work at Kinko's, and I ended up living with you, and obviously did not move to Philadelphia. I haven't thought about this in so long that it's like causing me pain to think about, because I can't imagine, like, I'm an idiot, but I can't believe I was that stupid and had that much of an asinine, like, I was like, oh, I was gonna be homeless. How the fuck was I gonna shower?
Maybe you thought you could shower at Brian's?
His house was such a long walk from where the other thing is, I was planning on sleep. It would have been insane to sleep in a park. I never slept in the park. And the other thing is, in my head, I was like, I'm going to sleep specifically in Trinity Park. So it's downtown Newport. I thinking it was safe because it was crowded.
I don't know.
I don't understand, like, how I could have ever come to the conclusion that was the plan. It's so bizarre and stupid. As far as I can recall, I know I didn't have a tent. I don't think I had a sleeping bag. I think I legitimately thought I was going to throw a blanket down and just sleep under the stars in downtown Newport, where there'd be drunken Irish people around me constantly. That wouldn't have been chaotic. And then families of tourists there. One, I would have definitely gotten robbed.
Or woken up with possums on you.
Yeah, it's totally insane. It's the most bizarre idea.
Or that scary, remember that raccoon one day that was under the car attacking people? Would have been
just mind-blowing. So I live with you in your attic.
Well, to be fair, I lived in the attic too.
Yes, in a super hot attic with very low ceilings.
Yeah, because the attic was
the haunted attic, though I didn't see any ghosts.
No,
but I fully
it was neither
believed that it was haunted.
heated nor cooled.
You can watch episode 1 if you'd like to hear about the haunted house that Kim lived in. And then, well, let's see. We started dating, so that was fun. That was good. That was like the plus side of it.
We were dating before that.
Yeah, I pretty much. Oh.
Yes. Stop. I hate that voice.
It didn't really come together until I moved in.
I don't know.
It was actually like a little bit of a gap, and then we were, which was great because that's a good way to do it. Move in with the person first.
Yeah, always works out.
What could go wrong? And we lived in your parents' house through the summer, and then your stepdad gave me the most bizarre talk that I couldn't stay there, which is totally reasonable, but his logic didn't make any sense.
He tried to use something
whatsoever.
about home insurance. It didn't make any sense, but it didn't really matter. It's Mom, Dad was working some crappy job at in a car insurance company or something.
Oh God, it was life insurance.
Life insurance.
Nightmare. I think I lasted a day and a half.
And then I worked a job during the day at a cleaning company, and then at night at a printing company, which just got to be a lot. And then Namda's mom was coming back around to gather her children
to get my brothers who had all managed to get back to Newport.
Yeah, because it was end of September now. Or something like that. Or it was September, and was September.
None of my brothers are in school.
Yeah, or is about to be September, or something like that. She's coming to gather her flock.
And moving to Florida.
Moving to Florida now, because her boyfriend was moving from Arkansas to Florida. So then, I told Namdev, I was like, well, Florida's not that bad. Ask her if we can come along. So then, she had a van, and we just followed her down to Florida.
Caravan to Florida, to Sarasota, right?
Sarasota, Florida. And we lived there a while.
I want to stop there. I don't want to get to Philadelphia yet.
You don't want to get to Philadelphia?
No, I just want to get to Florida for now.
In Florida, how did we meet people there?
Probably...
We made friends with
hardcore kids.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Hardcore kids.
Hardcore kids that had bands.
Yeah.
Somehow we saw the Reversal of Man demo in Abolition or something. Or not Abolition, whatever that magazine was called, Heart Attack.
Why am I forgetting the names of everything?
Because it's a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
It's practically 30 years ago.
Who are the people that we made, Order of Importance?
And Reversal of Man. Those
and
were
Reversal of Man. Why
the
did I
kids
say
that we bumped
Kevin?
into. And I think it's because we saw their demos in Heart Attack. And we're like, oh, they're in Tampa. Let's reach out to them. Something like that. It was, I can't remember. Because we didn't see any hardcore shows in Sarasota. We would go to Tampa. Right? We never went to Gainesville, did we? Or did we go to Gainesville with its Tampa kids at some point?
I think we always went to Tampa because that was the closest to us.
But we'd go to Tampa and go to shows there and sell records. Sell fuckloads of records. Even shitty records, which was great. It was we didn't really, we were working for a bunch of stupid people in Sarasota. My mom's stupid boyfriend, some fucking crazy woman they knew. But
I won't mention her name because she's a diplomat.
But we could go to a bloodlet show in Tampa and
what
sell...
What is she eating?
My hand.
Okay.
And sell $300 worth of records.
Well, tons of kids went to shows there.
Yeah, it was wild. So that was dope. So we would... Our, teenage years were basically spent I would measure my job I had as a 17-year-old by had I got to 1750 yet, had I made 1750, because if I made 1750 I could go get a money order, send it to 31G Records in San Diego and get 10 unbroken 7 inches, and then at hardcore shows I could sell those for $3 or 2 for $5 or whatever. So at one point, and Kim did the same, at one point we had a lot of records, and so we'd go to shows and we'd sell a lot of records. And that was Florida. I want to stop there.
You want to stop there?
Yes. So we go to the beach a lot. We eat a lot of hummus, is what I recall. Baba Ganoush. We were introduced to Baba Ganoush in Florida.
Yeah. Florida is awesome to live in when it's not tourist time.
Yeah. We were there from like September through December. And like September through November was fucking awesome. Frankly,
although I'm paranoid to swim in Florida, so I would only like to swim when we brought Namda's brother Moose, and I would make him bring a bodyboard because if there's sharks, then they would go for him because he would look more like a seal. I'm a terrible person.
That's all right. So CJ, yeah, basically. The like ethos of the punk and hardcore scene at the time, like a lot of records would say like an LP. I probably have one here. I think the End of the Line record. Let's see. I think this record is from 1993, and somewhere on it says this record is $5 postage paid from Abolition, which meant that like he was selling them wholesale for probably $3.50. So with all these record labels basically selling stuff at cost. Even now, well, I think a lot of labels actually sell stuff at a markup that allows them to run a record label. But the ethos of the hardcore scene was that it was like honorable to break even, which really plagued me because I was like selling stuff way too cheap. And then I had a problem with people in my life involved in fucked up things stealing money from me so that they could buy like alcohol or drugs, and I had like no padding whatsoever. So when they stole money, I was like fucked because they pretty much stole the exact amount of whatever records I had sold to get that money. So all of a sudden it was like, you know, if it was $60 even, that was 20 LPs I had to pay for to like Gurn Blanston Records or something. So that was kind of fucked and stupid as an aside.
Oh, here's an aside though. When I was like playing music for the girls this weekend, and then I was playing Bikini Kill for Patience, and she's like, "Oh, I know this song." I was like, "Yeah," because it's in like in one of the Netflix like movies that you watched. And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, little did we know music that we made in our basements and like artwork that we made in our basements would later be in your like Netflix like movies like 20 years later."
Totally.
And I was like, or playing in the grocery store like at Target while we're like buying our stuff.
It's true.
And But then I like try to make it a positive. I said, so just remember that when you're making stuff, art or music or whatever, when like in your teenage years, that you never know 20 years from now it'd be playing in the grocery store.
How are we doing? 10:20. We're going for an hour now or so. It took us a while to find our cropping of the camera that we were happy with.
Well, and the kids went to bed late, and yeah, and then the pediatrician said that Patience needs a later bedtime and whatnot. And I'm like, no, that's my time. Don't go to bed later. Okay, so you're changing. You should change that so we know we haven't used the Philly topic. Do you want to do one more, or are we done?
Yes.
Oh.
I want to do this one because I don't think that I actually know where you stand on it.
For suffering, art?
I got a little anecdote. And this is why I was thinking about
What type of suffering?
Well, hold on. Let me share my little anecdote, and then so that because this is why I was thinking about it.
Okay.
So
are we gonna eat? A cookie?
Oh, do we need a cookie break?
Yeah, a cookie break.
All right. So we have. This is our cookie for the week, or our crazy candy. Gingerbread Oreos. Have you ever had these? I don't think I've ever had them before.
No. Anytime I see the limited edition Oreos, I don't know why, I have to get them.
You know, I just realized we kind of picked this up from Rob Halverson. Remember, he used to buy like he would see some crazy cookie that was like, couldn't possibly be good. And he'd get so excited and buy it. And then he'd eat one and be like, oh, these are terrible. And he'd throw them away.
We got this from Rob?
He totally used to do this. Like when we went to MCAD, he would go to Lund's and he'd see weird stuff, like weird limited edition things that he didn't think would really be good, but he would get them on principle.
Is this why
I hadn't thought about it, but like I just remembered that he used to do that.
I just thought that I used to work at one of the big food brands, and old food brands, that well-established food brands, their stocks don't move because they're so established. So they come out with these limited edition flavors, and they all do it, all the big old brands. And the reason why they come out with the limited edition flavors is to move their stock, because
It like bumps it up, like, oh, there's some activity.
They get a temporary bump in sales, and that's why they do it. It's not because they're really trying to, in the think lab, trying to invent something new. It's all about bumping the stocks up.
So here's the deal. This is not weird at all. Listen, gingerbread cookie is a cookie. It's a totally normal flavor. It tastes good. I don't think I'd want to eat too many of them. I feel like it'd get gross after a while. Unlike actual Oreos, which never get gross. I feel like more than 2 of these could be a bummer. But this is good. I always get weirded out when it's got the little sugar crystals, though, in the frosting. I feel like I can feel it ruining my teeth.
It says it right on there, sugar crystals.
5 festive designs. I like it because the kids actually get excited about the festive designs. I'm good with 1. I really feel like I can feel my teeth dying from eating that. Okay, let me have a sip of this. So yesterday, I listened to 4, maybe 5 hours.
The dog wants her Oreo cookie.
No Oreo for you. Here, you can have this crumb.
No, it has sugar. Don't give it to her. She doesn't brush her teeth.
I just give her a little crumb. It'll be fine.
Well, you're brushing her teeth tonight.
No, just give her a bone and chew on. So, yesterday I listened to like 4 or 5 hours of this podcast called What Had Happened Was, which is like the best name of a podcast. So I listened to 4 or 5 hours of this podcast, and every episode of this season is with LP. And in each episode, the rapper, what's his name? Open Mike Eagle interviews LP about a stage of his career over the course of like 12 hours. It's kind of incredible. In one of the episodes, they're talking about the legacy of LP's label Def Jux that folded, I think, in 2012, but it ran from like 2002 to 2012 and was like the greatest record label on the planet. They were talking about the Mr. Lift record Mo Mega that came out on Def Jux. LP produced that record, and they were talking about the struggles that they had with it. So basically, he signed on to produce it at kind of the last minute. Someone else was supposed to produce it, and it was just supposed to come out on Def Jux, but he ended up producing it. And they and him and Mr. Lift were basically butting heads. He'd make beats. He'd be like, this is the best beat I've ever made. And then Mr. Lip would not be happy with it. He'd want something different. Or L would make like a creative decision, and then Mr. Lip wouldn't like it. Apparently part of the working relationship is he would give these kind of rough tracks to him to rap over, and then he would just he'd just rebuild the song from the ground up once he had the vocals. And then Mr. Lip would be like, what was wrong with the beat that was under there already? So they're having these issues. And the truth is, it's a really good record, and it captures the kind of like LP sort of like metal moment, like that Cage record and some other stuff that came out at that kind of same time. But LP basically said Mr. Lip didn't really like the record, and he said the reason he didn't like the record was that he didn't like the experience of making the record. LP's opinion was, I didn't like the experience of making the record either. It was frustrating and kind of sucky. It tested our friendship, and I quit a couple times. I said, fuck this, I'm out. But that doesn't matter. It's a good record. And so I thought that was a really interesting contrast. So Mr. Lift's philosophy is, the process sucked, so I don't like the record. And LP's philosophy is, it doesn't matter what happened during the process, we made a good record. And I know where I stand on this, but I was wondering, like, where do you stand on that? Like, shitty process equals shitty outcome regardless of what it ends up being? Or sometimes the shitty process is worth what comes out the other side?
I don't know.
For me, make everything was hard. So I just assumed that the process of making stuff sucked. And I felt this way for a long time. Like, I liked it. It was gratifying, but it wasn't fun. Like, I don't look back on anything like at MCAD, for example, like at art school. I don't look back at too much of that fondly and be like, that was really great.
No, well, why do you think, like, when it came time to, like, cut my mats or something like that, why I would only do 2 at a time, and why I had to space everything out? And that's why I always hated when my teachers would be like how I was always done early, and they would always go, oh, you're done early, you need to do more. But I wasn't done early because, like, I was slacking. I had planned it out to be done early because I found the whole process at MCAD to be completely stressful, and I didn't like to be stressed. I didn't like the way that made me feel. So, you know, I would schedule everything out and broke everything up into chunks, so I didn't feel that pressure. So I guess, you know, I'm of the thing, I guess, that I don't want things to feel shitty. And that's why when they're like, oh, okay, you're done early, well then, you know, I want you to do, like, you know, 50 of these or whatever. And I hated that. That would make me angry because, like, my work wasn't any less quality because I broke it into little chunks to be done earlier.
Did you feel like, because at some point you had to figure that out, right? It's not like you always did that, like, impartially. Like, you had to figure that out as a reaction to, oh, weird, if I'm efficient, I got to do a bunch of extra fucking work.
Yeah, I hated
like, in
that.
order to get, like, a good grade, I have to do more work than everyone else because I know what the fuck I'm doing, basically. So before you started to figure that out, was it more of a struggle to make the work?
I'm trying to. Well, I came from a different background though of all those kids, because remember I had to juggle.
I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about other people. I'm talking about, like, you making the work. Like, was that a struggle?
Me making the work at MCAD? It wasn't a struggle. Or do you feel
like the school made it a struggle?
Did the school make it a struggle to make the work?
Yeah, because they're, like, breathing down your throat. Like you shoot a bunch of stuff, you do an edit, and then they're like, oh, you already have an edit? Cool. Go shoot 10 more rolls.
Oh, no. Then you just stop telling people where you are in the process. I learned that after my first year, to stop telling, like, to stop telling them where you are in the process, because then they'll just send you out and make you do more.
When you were, like, early in art school and they were, like, kind of harassing you to be more, quote unquote, conceptual, did that feel like a struggle?
Yeah, that felt like a struggle.
And then did anyone like the work that came out of that, or was it still, like, not good enough?
No, they liked it.
And how did you feel about it? Did you think it was good, or were you like...
I thought it was all right. It was nothing that I would show anyone. I felt like I wasn't making work for me. Like that whole, what was her name? Stevie?
Yeah.
That whole project that I made at the end of her class. I mean, she really, it seemed like she liked that project, and I had a good critique. I mean, I had a narrative, but I had to really bullshit that narrative. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had something loosely that it was about, and I had components that that were about like something like out of my life, but it was like bullshit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so I was thinking about like, because like when I read that thing, or when I heard LP talking about that, and I realized, oh, I'm firmly now in the Mr. Lift camp. If the process sucks, then the work sucks. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter if it's conceptually rich. It's kind of like, it can be technically good. Like, oh, that thing you made, it's conceptual, it's well designed or whatever, but I don't like it, and I don't want to revisit
it's
the
kind of
conditions
like,
that led to it.
it's kind of like how you can't go back and listen to like, well, I guess that's not true in your case. Like how I can't go back and listen to music that I listened to when I was 14 years old because it's just bad memories. Like you can't, if you had a bad experience while we're making something. Sorry, my dog.
Down.
If you had a bad experience while you were making something, like why would you like the final outcome, no matter how good it was?
Yeah, and I guess like
now she's biting me.
You know,
Chevy.
There's lots of There's lots of artists who like I know that they suffer to make their stuff, and I appreciate their stuff, but I do always wonder like, I wonder how much better your shit would be if you didn't have to suffer.
Oh, now you're biting me.
Like,
ow.
Because I know that.
Chevy, Chevy, sit.
Lie
sit.
down. Lie down. No, don't poke me. Lie down.
She's poking. She's got fingers.
I know that for a long time, making everything was hyper difficult for me. Like for most of the time that I did art or design, and I'd finish things, I'd know that they were like good, but I don't know if I like them. And when I eventually got to the point where I decided that the process was the only thing I cared about, and that if I just had like two simple rules, which was like I made sure the process was enjoyable, and then I made sure I wasn't attached to a preconceived notion of some kind, and that I wasn't trying to do a thing, you know, like taking blurry photos of garbage.
That's all I take is blurry photos.
Yeah, but like I take, you know, you take good blurry photos. But taking blurry photos of garbage, it's not like I was trying to make someone else's blurry photos. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I saw like Uta Barth. I was like, oh, I should do blurry photos, even though I like them. Which like in 2003, I might have just seen Uta Barth and done that. But in 2016, when I was doing that, it was just a thing that was like fascinating to me. And I felt like if I'm not trying to do a thing and I follow a rich process, then as far as I'm concerned, the work is good. I might not even necessarily like it, like, cause you know, like you take a bazillion photos, obviously you're not going to like them all, but even the ones I don't like, I consider them good because the process was like the right process, and I wasn't attached to the idea of where it would end up. Like I was like open to letting whatever happen. So the more I did that, the less I am at all compelled to suffer for the art. You know, it's like, and I know lots of people, they are like, making work is really hard and it like takes a lot out of them. And for me, I really don't want it to do that. I want it to be that the art makes my life, like making art should make my life better. So that if I do make something that sucks or it doesn't work out, I want it to at least be like, that was a really nice way to spend that time. But like when I was like struggling through MCAD, I just wanted to quit all the time. And I just wanted to be, I always just wanted to be finished. I never felt like, oh, I completed this and it's good. I just always felt like, you know, if I was being honest, I would just be like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this? This is terrible. Like making this shit is a drag.
Well, I guess I didn't feel like that at MCAD. I just didn't fit in at MCAD.
Well, I think we have like different approaches, and I was just wondering because like I don't think it's a conversation that we've ever really had. Like, some people like really I don't know, torture themselves to make stuff, even if it's just they torture themselves through like, I have to be smart or original.
I only tortured myself that first year because when I had my first photo class at MCAD, Stevie wasn't a good fit for me. And the way that Stevie is that she had a certain vision of how she thinks a photographer and a fine art photographer, what they should be like, and that there has to be all this meaning behind what you do. And I just take blurry ass photos. There is no deep meaning. I guess now with the current project that I've been working on the past few years, the only deep meaning behind it is that, you know, it was started after my brother died.
Yeah, and it's not like the photos are about your brother.
They're not about him per se.
It's tied to it, obviously.
It's tied to it about in a complex way. I don't have anything in my pocket. You can try to eat it, but there's nothing in it. But making photos has always been easy for me. But when I've tried to do things that weren't my type of thing, like that American flag project after 9/11, Stevie's class, but everything after that, once I got what was in the architectural class with Rick and like those kind of projects afterwards that have all been like my kind of projects.
Blurry photos of corners.
Yeah. Then it's been easy. The only hard thing is that when you go to a school known for everyone taking portraits of people looking blankly into space, and then you're the one kid taking blurry out of focus pictures, and then in critique
everyone wondering why you're not taking photos of your vegan friends.
Everyone like kind of scratching their heads and then people are like tearing you up during critiques and your teachers are defending you, which like I love my teachers for defending me. But then at the same time, then everyone, you know, I felt like I was like in elementary school because then everyone thinks
hates you.
Everyone thinks I'm a kiss ass and I'm, you know, and I'm not. But I think they were just trying to make them like see just because like it's something different that was still value in it and trying to explain to them how to critique something that isn't representational, like how you talk about it, and to help them understand how to talk about it. So I don't know, but I've always just done, and I wanted criticism. That's the thing I wanted, because you go to art school. The whole reason why you go to art school is to perfect your art, and if you can't get criticism to help you build to hone your skill, you know, or
well, that was like the hard, I mean, like on the teaching side, it took me a long time to realize that it was like my job is to make the student, like my job is to take John Smith and make John Smith peak John Smith. The worst or best version of whatever that person is capable of is not to make them smart, it's not to make them interesting, it's not to make them conceptual, it's not to make them give a fuck about history, because only nerds who teach care about history. Like, my job is to make like John Smith do the most extreme version of John Smith. But it took me a long time to realize that. Just like it took me a long time to realize like, oh, I'm like an analytical dumb person. So like everything that like I do art-wise, I take seriously, but it needs, come on, dude.
Chevy.
But I gotta be kind of stupid about it. Like I gotta use an iPhone and take blurry photos of my trash, and I gotta.
No, but you were also trying to fit art making into your daily.
Yeah, but I think the thing I realize is the way I'm wired. That's the productive way to do it. Like, let's say in some alternate reality, I was able to like make a living off of music, I would almost certainly have to then find a hobby so that I could sneak making music into the hobby, because I don't think I would enjoy spending 9 to 5 doing that, because it would be hard. Who knows, maybe I'd love it, but I fear that it would be hard and serious. But then again, maybe I would just turn it into play and then it would be fine. But you start to see it in your students, that like you have these students that think they have to suffer for the work. And the thing is that the students who suffer for the work, their work always suffers. They're always getting in their own fucking way by being so goddamn serious about everything and acting like everything matters. And you're like, we're fucking putting pictures on paper and screens. Like we're doodling.
I think that was the one freeing thing about having. I had a 10-year, no word of a lie, I had a 10-year gap in art making. I had like a 1 year maybe in between there where I made something. It's like I went to art school. I was really prolific for a while after art school. I had gotten like some grants and whatnot. And then I had a child, and I think I had one art show, whatever was in one show maybe, while I had that child. And maybe did one other body of work when I had that child, and then like nothing. There was just like a bunch of chaos and a bunch of crap a bunch of life happened. And then I went like 10 years, like a decade. Sorry, I'm touching the table. John McCain. Got my John McCain on. Okay, right. If you don't know, John McCain held a pen because whatever. Tremors. So I got a pen.
Which I think just meant he had a shaky pen in his hand.
Yeah. No, actually his hand was all messed up from like Vietnam or a stroke or something. Okay. So then like my brother dies or whatever, and bunch of like internal stuff. So then I start making art again. But then after having that 10-year gap, and Namdev and I having all these conversations about art and our biggest regrets about art school and stuff we felt we missed in our art school education. When I started making art again, I felt like I was freer because I could let go of a bunch of that stuff that I thought I like needed to hold on to from art school, about the rules and whatever those rules were. I don't know. A lot of it of like where I had to get my stuff printed, and
like, yeah, you have like the like, there's the rules about the way that you produce the stuff.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of gatekeeping.
And you know what I decided when I started making art again? I decided I just wanted to have a huge freaking database of like image. And I use the word database. I don't know, like a prettier term. And that's what I mean. I've edited images. I have thousands of edited, like, of final images, because I just freed myself, and I just create. And I mean, lately things have been a little crazy, and I haven't been as, since the pandemic. I mean, I actually had another gap in art making. I mean, when the pandemic hit, I went a year. I went all of 2020 to 2021 without shooting really anything. But prior to that, I had been pretty prolific.
The whole like because I feel like the torturing yourself thing, it almost always comes from that you have a picture of what it is you think you should be doing, and then there's like this gap. There's like, here's me, here's this picture of what I think I should be doing, and maybe it's worth getting to that picture, or maybe it's torture because the universe is trying to tell me, dude, don't go towards that thing. Like that, the thing that you think you should be doing is not at all what you should be doing. What you should be doing is actually just right over here. Just like take a little left turn and then you'll be in the right spot. But you torture yourself trying to achieve whatever it is you think you're supposed to achieve. And then it becomes torture because like maybe you've got to learn all kinds of new stuff that you don't naturally want to learn. You know what I mean? Like, so you have this idea of like, I'm going to start painting, let's say, and then like you have this vision of what painting should look like. And that requires you to learn how to paint, which might be very fucking strenuous. And then you have the question of what should I be painting? So then you got to be smart, which that can be very strenuous. You know, like I don't think I'm very smart. So when I tried to be like a smart graphic designer, it was very, very difficult and frustrating because naturally I'm somewhat dumb and somewhat fascinated by dumb shit. So you torture yourself trying to get there, and then you get there, you never hit the mark that you want to, and then you're like, oh, well, it was worth it to go through all that. And I just always feel like when I look at like artists that just like struggle so hard to make stuff, and I just think like, you're so good at what you do, there was no fucking need to struggle. Like there's no need to have these impossible standards that if you didn't reach them, no one would know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It reminds me of
reminds me when you used to torture yourself when you used to design, like when
I totally used to torture myself. It was
first graduated from
nightmare.
MCAT, and you would just sit there and torture yourself.
Yeah, and I had no process. So like I feel like you torture yourself in part because your process, when you have to torture yourself, your process kind of sucks. Because it could make work about something heavy and it wouldn't be torture. Like, I don't know why, but if tomorrow I was like, I'm going to make a fucking project about the Rwandan genocide, the part that would be torture would be the bummer of reading about it. But making the thing wouldn't be torture. Making the thing would be like a breeze. But certainly if I had done that in 2003, every single aspect of it would have been complete and total torture. And then I probably wouldn't even want to look at the thing once it was done. Because I'd be reminded, when people are just like, oh, you always see the mistakes. I feel like I don't even see the mistakes and stuff anymore. Because it's just like, I did the best I could because of fuck. I try to assume the stuff that I made, I just try to act like someone else made it. Like when I look at your photos, like if I look at that photo, I don't fucking critique it. Like I don't look at it and go like...
That's one of my favorite photos.
I don't look at it and go, I don't know. That light gray in the upper kind of middle...
When my photos
too warm.
When my photos
I would never do that. I would be like, I either like it or it's cool, but like it's not my favorite. But I wouldn't be like, it would be so much better if. And then I just assume that if it's my thing, don't do that either. Until you get to the point where you're like progress enough that you can look at your own shit and be like, oh, if I was going to redo this, this is the thing I would do differently. But I used to look at the stuff and just agonize.
Like I said, I'm going for the database. I don't agonize over photos. Like, that's one of my favorite photos. When my photos are at the library, that's pre-pandemic, so we're at the library every 2 weeks. And I would go every 2 weeks and just stand and look at my photos, and I'd be like, man, this looks good.
Oh, if I had an art show up, I would go every fucking day. I would just trip out on my own stuff.
I know. I didn't look at it.
Dope.
I was like, this looks good.
But I feel like the people who torture themselves, they can't do that.
And then when I talked about freeing myself of those art school standards, man, I get the cheapest printing. I mean, those are 16 by 20, and I did like one of those like online, like, what is it, like canvas, like whatever.
Canvas prints for you.
Yeah, whatever, on demand, like the cheapest there is, and they look good, and like they're probably not archival, like everything opposite of like what I was taught in school. Because you know what they don't teach you in school when you're like doing this on your own and the museum's not paying for it and you're paying for it out of pocket on your own, and you have like a show and you have like 20 prints that you're doing all yourself. Well, they don't talk to you about cost and you paying for it out of your own pocket. And like, they're having you print large and stuff when you're in school. Well, no one's telling you that framed is hundreds of dollars. So excuse me, I'm going for the $20 special, the 16 by 20 that cost me $20.
Yeah, and I think that's like also one of the things that fits into like the torture model. There's like the self-torture of, I've got to spend all this money on it to make it real and valuable. But then there's the other thing of, now I'm in fucking agony. It's like when you take figure drawing classes, like I really love the part in the very beginning where you've got a stick of charcoal and newsprint, and you just burn through the newsprint. But the minute they make you go and buy the $8 sheet of paper, I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like,
Yeah,
I can't draw on an $8 sheet of paper. Like,
can't make
I'm drawing
a
on a
mark.
fucking sandwich. Like, I want to eat the thing. I don't want to draw on it. Like, why do I want to waste it with a bad drawing? That was like how
I mean, there's
how I
certain
feel
things
about
I will spend money for. If they're like, you know, that one gallery that was in Maryland, you know, I submitted 3, 1 got in. So that one, you know, I got legit printed, framed, and I had shipped down, you know, but that whole thing all together, shipping back and forth, I mean, that cost me hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
But, you know, tax deduction.
But it's also like making the decision, like, all right, I'm going to invest in this thing, which is different than feeling like you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, this has to be a C print. I have to see 5 proofs before I can make a decision, as opposed to see 1 proof. And if you see a legitimate thing where you go,
Oh, yeah, that
that's
one I
not
did get
right.
approved. The one from Maryland, I did get approved.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with getting approved. I think the thing is when you do
The dog is eating my pants leg.
Yeah, she really likes your new pajamas.
No, these aren't the new pajamas.
Stop eating everyone.
Did you feed her?
I totally fed her. I fed her before we came down here. That's where we stand on torture. No torture at all. I mean, it's just think it's just funny because I know so many people that do that. Like even becoming friends with Alex over the last couple of years, and when like I first started talking to him, he was fully in the camp of you like torture yourself to make things, and you hold yourself to these unbelievably high standards. And now he's realized that like, oh, when you do that, you don't make as much stuff, and you lose the basic joy of making stuff.
Yeah, what's the point if you don't enjoy whatever it is you make or whatever it is you do? If you don't enjoy it,
Yeah.
that brings us full circle to, is it episode 1, to Friday Night Lights, where Matt gets an internship with an artist, and he talks about how artist he works for, how everything he makes is shit. And he's like, yeah, it's all shit. I hate everything I make. I was like, is that really like the outside world's opinion of like how they think artists, the tortured artists, they hates everything? I mean, all the stuff like that I edit down to whatever I have. I love like my final edits. I love like after when I go out shooting, I edit down, and you know,
Yeah, it's the best.
and my new photos, they're like my new babies, you know.
Yeah, totally. 100%. So like, that's a good podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna check off the rest of the list. This is a voting pen. I stole it from the state.
Well, it's probably filled with COVID.
Probably. I'm trying to get my antibodies up.
You're just marking that off.